So yeah, Steve is a thanks, Jeff. Steve is a professional Scrum trainer. We're very honored to have him to talk with us. I'm going to let him kind of introduce himself, but he has a great topic here. How many coaches does it take to change a light bulb? I want to know what the answer to this is going to be. So Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. I'm just going to share my, right, I'm going to try and do some technical stuff. Believe it or not, I am actually, or was a developer, and I've seemed to have lost all my technical skills. So which actually, talking to some friends of mine is probably not a bad thing, because I was a pretty ropey developer. I say that, but you know, we still built things, so that was cool. Right, so swapping that one across there. Where's Zoom gone? There we go. I'm just going to share my screen. So yeah. So how many coaches does it take to change a light bulb? Now, this question came up because I quite like dad jokes, and I quite like actually just joking with people. Sorry, is my screen share working? Is it coming through, or my yeah, it's sorry. Zoom is coming up with
And I think Steve was going to say Zoom was coming up with nope, there he is. So it looks like you're muted, Steve.
yeah, apologies for that. Not too sure what happened. Anyway, I guess because I was saying I was technical, and now it's not. So I'm just allowing other people to come in, and they haven't missed anything. So Juliet, you haven't missed anything. We've had some technical issues, but that's the way that it always is at the moment. So question was, how many coaches does it take to change a light bulb? And I was just saying that I quite like doing dad jokes. I've reached that age where I can get away with them now. And I was Googling like some sort of a topic that I could talk about and get something around coaching. The joke, or the punchline, is one, but the light bulb has to want to change. And I thought, actually, that is a very good thing. From a coaching point of view, and this is what we're going to be talking about, is people actually need to be open to be coached. And we're going to talk about what the Scrum Guide says, what coaching is, what it isn't, and just to share my experiences with you lovely people. So let's get going. Who am I? Why am I here? Well, look, I started off as a developer. Now, if you remember the Microsoft Certified Solutions Developer, it means you're as old as me. So I started off a developer, not a great one, but just kind of a hacker, a Google person that goes on the Stack Overflow and goes, right, we can piece this together. And I found myself struggling a lot. So I started trying to search on how I can learn more, how I could become better. And I had this idea that if I learn everything, then life would be easier. It wouldn't be so hard. It wouldn't feel so difficult. So I started going down the route of looking for Microsoft certification, because I thought, right, if I know the content, then it'll make it easier. I then started moving towards looking more towards an architectural point of view. So I did a TOGAF, the Open Group Architectural Framework, to help me in my day-to-day job. But yet again, it still wasn't really giving me the things that I wanted. It was still really difficult, probably because of the domain that we're working in, where there's more unknowns and knowns in that complex area. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was me. I thought it was my problem that I didn't have all the answers, or I didn't feel that I had all the answers. So I went out searching for them. So what I'm kind of talking about is that I may be, or may have been, in the situation where you are at the moment, where we're working in high demanding places, where we've got lots of uncertainty, and at a pace at times can just feel relentless and tiring and hard and draining. My passion is to help people to work in different ways so that they feel empowered, where their values can come forward, and where work becomes naturally less complex, and I don't want to say easier, but they feel less tired, less disillusioned, and there is another way. So how did I go down this route? Well, I started coming off of the conversations and how we were working by looking into Scrum. That's why we're here. Looking at how to implement that. Eventually, that took me down a route of becoming a professional Scrum trainer with scrum.org. And looking at the searching around, looking at what Scrum says that we should be doing with it from a Scrum Master point of view, it had this line about coaching. And this really resonated with me. And I used to coach people and still do, but never really understood what coaching actually was. Never really understood what good coaching looks like. I was kind of making it up, following on what I have done previously by taking those bits of code off Stack Overflow and just bolting it together, things that I've seen, things that I've worked before, just regurgitating that. And I thought that's not what we should be doing. So I started looking at coaching, and I looked at various things, and I went on to various courses, and I looked at something like Coactive, which talks about the doing and the being, doing coaching and actually working out what it actually means to be a coach, a professional coach. That led me on to becoming an accredited coach with the ICF, so the International Coaching Federation. And all at the same time, building up my agile skills and coaching skills just so that I can help people. That's what I like to do. I'm part of a group called the Scrum Facilitators, based in the Netherlands, but also based in the UK. And actually now Singapore as well. So we've got a worldwide reach-ish. And we help companies, we help teams, we help individuals to understand how they can work in complex worlds. So my key message to you is that if you are a coach, if you're a Scrum Master, if you're an Agile coach, this is an opportunity for you to help others reach their full potential by being a coach, helping. And I'd like you to consider over the next however long how you are coaching and how you can ignite an individual and a team, an organization to reach their full potential. I'd like you to consider what you view coaching to be. How aligned is it in what professional coaching should look like? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about my journey in Agile, and why a Scrum Master should be practicing coaching, and why Agile coaches should also be practicing coaching. Look, I'm going to say this straight away. Scrum Masters are Agile coaches. Okay, so in my head, and hopefully you'll agree with me, I don't make any differentiation between Agile coach and Scrum Master. A Scrum Master is an Agile coach who has decided to use Scrum as their framework. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips just for turning up early. So there you go. I'd like you to learn to listen without immediately wanting to respond. And that sometimes is really hard, especially if you can see people struggling and maybe you wanting to actually interject, but learn to listen. And by listen, I mean, look at the whole person, not what they're saying, but how they're saying it, how they're interacting with each other, how, what their body language is doing. What is it that they're not saying in what they have said? Also, when you are talking and listening, clarify the purpose, clarify the focus, clarify what it is that they want to do. Okay, what it is they want to talk about. Also, watch out for your inner critics going, I think it's this, I think it's that, that voice you get at the back of your head or just here, almost directing you, this self-management, wanting to interject, wanting to help, but also look out for the inner critics in the person. I'm not good enough. I could never do that. I could never skydive. I could never do a London Marathon. I could never be the boss of this department. I could never question. Well, why not? Listen to those inner critics and try and tease them out where they've come from. Okay. The last point: remain humble, curious, and empathic. Empathic. Comes from a podcast I listen to called the High Performance Podcast. Okay, it's available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, things like that. And it's a line that they use, and it's something that resonates with me. Be humble. You don't know the answers. You may know some, but you don't know all the answers. Be curious about why somebody is there, why they've shown up, what their current state is. Put yourself in their situation. You may not have experienced their problems, but maybe you can, just by sitting with them and finding out where it is they're coming from. And you'll have much more powerful conversations. As a coach, that's what you want to be doing. You want to be having much more powerful conversations with people. Creating space. Having that silence. Little secret, that silence there, for me, that really hurts because I love filling silences. But when we fill, it doesn't allow people to talk. So through my coaching journey, I've had to learn to shut up. And it's really hard. I struggle with it. So why am I talking about coaching? Well, we've got the Scrum Guide. And in there, the Scrum Guide talks about a Scrum Master being a true leader who serves the Scrum team and their larger organization by coaching the team members in self-management and cross-functionality. Leading and training and coaching, again, the organization in Scrum adoption. But if you have just come off a certified Scrum Master, professional Scrum Master in IC Agile, whatever, and you're now a Scrum Master and you've got no experience of coaching, how do you actually start coaching? It's really difficult. But yet this is what Scrum Masters should be doing. It's part of the Scrum Guide, coaching. Often we think we're coaching, but we're actually not. Maybe we're teaching, maybe we're mentoring. And I'll talk a little bit about the differences between the two, or the three, in a little while. Barry Overeem, another Scrum trainer with Scrum.org, wrote a white paper about the 8 stances of the Scrum Master some time ago, and he's since refined it down to, I think, 6 stances, where he talks about what a Scrum Master should be doing, as opposed to what we do see out there in the industry of being the Jira admin or the chairman. It's a really great white paper, and I'll drop in the links at the end so you can go back and look at it. I'd encourage you, if you haven't looked at it, go look at it. If you haven't read it for some time, go read it again. In fact, actually do that for the Scrum Guide as well. It changed in November 2020. So if you haven't read it recently, well, since November 2020, please go read it again because it has changed things. Going back to what Barry talks about, Barry says a coach within the eyes of Scrum leads by example. Is that North Star that people can follow, those behaviors, those patterns. So start thinking about the behaviors and patterns that you're doing as an Agile coach, as a Scrum Master. A coach works backwards from the goal to figure out the most effective way of moving people to where they need to be. You know, it's pointless. And Lisa Adkins in her book, The Coaching Agile Teams, talks about coaching them there to help them move across, not coaching them from over here. The gap is way too big. So work it backwards. Where do you want them to be? What's the end state? How can you help these people move across? It's all contextual. Sometimes the most difficult thing to do is to stay calm as a coach, especially if you're wrapped up within your team, within the organization, to stay calm when others are losing their heads. Oh, we're never going to make it. Oh, we've got this deadline of Friday and it's now Thursday afternoon and we know it. Set a sustainable pace as a coach. Have those difficult conversations maybe. So there's lots of ways that we could improve our coaching approaches by pulling, not pushing. As of that, come with me. There's an answer over here. By talking less and listening more. Postponing your judgment on what the outcome should be by allowing the team to move into that space or the individual to move into that space through self-management. Coach is patient, pragmatic, and present for the individual. So think about the amount of Agile coaches or Scrum Masters that you've worked with. How many of those behaviors do you see being exhibited? Is it often that an Agile coach is just blah, or a Scrum Master is blah, this is the way forward, the Scrum Guide says this? Do you know what? If you ever catch yourself saying that, oh, the Scrum Guide says you need to be able to do this, Ditch that approach. It switches people off. Talk about the benefits or the risk of their behaviors that you're trying to help them understand, and say what it's going to do. The minute you start going, but the Scrum Guide says, everybody just shuts down. Believe me, I've done that, and I've noticed, oh, the Scrum Guide says this, the Scrum Guide says that. It's pointless. You're losing people. Coach them where they are. They're not bothered what the Scrum Guide says. Coach them on the behaviors. Coach them on the risks that could happen. You'll have much more powerful conversations. So anyway, so how many other agile coaches do you see and Scrum Masters see doing that kind of behavior? Depends where you are. So what does the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, almost a standard for coaching? There's a European one. This is the American international version. What does it say about coaching? Well, ICF defines the coaching as a partnership with clients. And this is a real key thing. It's a partnership with clients. It's not that we're pushing. It's not that we're pulling. We're working in partnership with them where they are. And we can work with them through thought-provoking creative processes that inspire them, inspire to reach their potential. And that could just be by asking an open-ended question. That could be actually by putting something in front of them that they are choosing not to address. Maybe it's just keeping silence for them. Or maybe it's just keeping them accountable for their actions. So what does Scrum.org say about being a professional coach? They empower individuals, teams, and organizations to unlock people's potential, find creative solutions on their own success. So the two are very, very much aligned. What Scrum.org are wanting to do. Sorry, my screen's just gone off on that one. What Scrum.org are wanting to do and what the ICF are talking about, true coaching. I often see coaching not as that. Often somebody standing in front, almost dictating, telling. That's not what coaching is. Coaching is different. Coaching is working in partnership with, almost being a thought buddy. I heard that and I thought, you know what? Yeah, I don't like the words, but I understand what it means. I'm a thought buddy as a coach. What is it you're thinking right now? Let's explore that. Let's go from there. See where we end up. That's what a coach does. Okay, so we should be seeing more and more of that. It helps people reach their full potential. If you tell somebody what to do, they might do it, but they might not believe it. If you work together as a coach, as a partner, they're much more likely to do it and believe it, to reach their potential. Okay, so one of the things that we don't talk about is, from a coaching point of view, or very few coaching talk about, is ethics. There was a conversation I remember a long, long time ago. I was attending Agile Yorkshire, a meetup group, very similar to this. Although your name is much better, Masters of the Universe. I wish I'd thought of that. It's brilliant. The He-Man, Skeletor, and also going off on a tangent. Anyway, there was a conversation broke out in which somebody asked the question, my team don't seem to listen to me. And somebody said, have you asked for permission? Have you asked for permission for people to coach? And the person in front stood and went, do you know what? No, I haven't. Well, why are you trying to do that? Why are you trying to coach if you don't have permission? So what we need to think is about how we interact with our teams. And this comes down to ethics, morals, and values. Now, morals are sets of rules set by culture and society. They're most likely not being set by yourself, but personally, you're going to adhere to them. Values are internal to you. This is important to me, and we all have values. And there's a great exercise in Jeff Watt's book, the Coach's Casebook, where he gives you 50 words, and you go through and you keep halving it and keep halving it and keep halving it. So you get about five words, not 10, 5. And then he asks you to create a sentence which encompasses all these words. Now, I did this some years ago, and there was 2 words that really annoyed me, but were still important. One was reputation. For some reason that really bothered me. The other one was professionalism, which I liked. But it was the word reputation that was like, oh, I don't like this. But I learned something from my values, that my reputation for professionalism is really important to me. So there'll be things that I do because it is core to my values, things I won't do because it will mean I'm standing on my values. As a coach, we need to think about what our values are. That's how we help other people. So, ethics. Those visible external behaviors, professional behaviors. So ethically, could we be seeing that if we got a conflict of interest in the work that we're doing, perceived or not, actual or not? If there is, your ethics possibly could be brought into question. Think about all these things. What are your morals? What are your ethics? What are your values as a person? And when you're coaching, how are you leading? How are you guiding? Is there bias that's taking you somewhere? Now, we don't have a code of ethics for agile coaching. I haven't come across one that we all agree with. There are some sites out there that are proposing. The ICF do have a code of ethics. And as a coach, I adhere to those code of ethics. So what are my responsibilities for my clients? Confidentiality. Anything we talk about, I don't share unless I believe that you're endangering your life or somebody else's. I don't share it. And that would be agreed in our coaching agreement. So what are we actually going to be doing on our practices and performances? Moving people forward on their personal development. And we'll recognize any limitations that may impair our coaching. The next one's professionalism. Are we qualified to be a coach? Have we done the experiences? Have we actually got the qualification that says, yes, I could be coaching you? There's quite a few people out there that don't. And that can lead to some damage. I'm not saying that people, if you don't have a qualification, you're causing damage. I'm just saying that some people, if they're going down a route of coaching and believe they are doing coaching, but they haven't qualified in it, they can do damage. Okay. So, society, we avoid discrimination and maintain fairness and equality. It's just good behavior. So, when you're coaching teams, individuals, think, what are my professional ethics? What am I doing? And why? Also, know which stance you're in. Now, we are all coaches, or we all have many different hats we can put on. Let's call them hats. So sometimes we might be a coach working in partnership. Sometimes we might be a mentor, helping somebody to see something further because based from our experience and we're giving advice. Sometimes we might be a teacher, and a teacher that's actually helping people understand how a framework, how a process works. But understand what you're doing and why. And also make sure it's clear to the people that you're talking to which stance you're currently in. Okay. So often, and I found myself doing this, often I would get stuck in consultancy mode in which I am trying to help the individual, but also it kind of benefit me as well. So I'm driving down this road, but maybe it's not the most helpfulest road. Helpfulest? Is that a word? Anyway, might not be the most helpful road for that individual. You know, are we fixated on the outcome? Are we not considering other perspectives? Are we resolving but not revealing the issue? Are we not helping in any way? So there's a great model here. This comes from David Rocks, and I happened to find this. It came up on LinkedIn one day when I was trawling there. And what I like about this model is, do I ask or do I tell? So what we've got here is think about what you're doing. You know, if you're in the bottom left, if the person you're working with as a coach tells you what the problem is and how to fix it, you're working with a consultant, not a coach. If you're in top left, if the person you're working with asks you many questions about the problems so they can understand the situation, you're listening to a counselor to help you maybe to see what's going on. Bottom right, mentoring. If the person you work with tells you new things and how they work, they're a teacher, they're a mentor. But in that top right, If the person has genuine interest, ask many questions so they can understand your dilemma, is always on the positive side and nudges you, helps you move forward towards a strategy to action, then you're probably the luckiest person because you've got a coach in your corner, impartial and helping. So there is another book here that I would recommend, which is Robert Callan, who's actually been as part of the Scrum Master Universe, one of the previous events. And I would go back if you can. I think it was definitely last year. Review it, watch the video if it's available. It was a brilliant talk in which people just ask questions about from Robert. And he talks in his book about specifically saying, when you are a consultant, when you're a coach, be transparent. Hey, it sounds like you're asking me a question that's revolving around consultancy. I'm going to switch into consultancy mode if that's okay. Or it sounds like we need to talk from a coaching point of view. I'm going to take my consultancy hat off and I'm going to be more of a coach. Spell it out. People may not recognize the way that you're talking. If you don't, otherwise, they still need to understand. It's a great book, the Badass Agile Coaching book. So if you haven't read it, please find a copy of it and read, because he talks about different scenarios and also what you could be doing as a coach. It could be slightly differently, and talk about coaching dojos to practice your skills, which I would recommend that you do as well. So what does it feel like when you have a coach? For me, it's someone on my side, someone that believes in me. And I have a coach. I coach people and I have a coach. I think it's important that people that coach people actually do coach. So what does it feel like? It feels empowered. It's not as bad as I thought it was, just actually vocalizing the actual issue. It feels focused. Coming out from a coaching conversation, I should have some accountabilities that I'm going to hopefully listen to my language, that I'm going to do in order to improve. I'm probably more closely connected to my emotions. I understand why I reacted that way in that meeting. Yeah, it was the way that so-and-so said this to me and it triggered me based off a previous experience, those kinds of things. I actually feel listened to. Now, there's various different books out there and various different blog posts talking about listening, active listening, and there's like 3 types of listening. Listening, first type is actually, I'm listening, but I'm already preparing my answer that I'm going to respond back to you. So I'm not really listening. I'm listening to your words, but I'm already back into there. Second level is that I'm listening and I'm taking it in, listening to the conversation, and I might suggest something. Third level listening is when you experience something, you're listening at what the person is saying and what they're not saying, what their body language is saying, what the dynamic of the room is like, when you can just sense something. It's at a higher level. Now, often I will shift, and if you do this as well, you'll shift between the 3 different layers. And if you just recognize, hey, I happen to be in level 1 listening now, I should really be in level 2 because someone's sharing something with me. Switch back up and then try and get back up to level 3 so you can sense what's going on in the wider aspects. It's all these different things, these different tools that you can bring into the way that you work. Might supply an answer. Going back to what it feels like to have a coach. It feels like I'm growing. It feels that I'm moving from that fixed mindset into a growth mindset. It feels that actually there's somebody in my corner that's allowing me to have powerful insights on the way that I talk, the way that I act, the direction I'm going in, or the directions I choose not to go in. Would I do the Microsoft certified developer again? I don't know. But if I had a coach, maybe we would have had a conversation around that. How do I feel when I come out of a coaching session? I feel tired. My brain feels tired but alive. Because I feel like I'm growing. I feel I'm accountable. I feel I've been listened to. I feel empowered. I feel focused. That's really tiring, really tiring. I feel totally inspired for change. It's a great place to be. Now imagine having that kind of conversation in an organization, having somebody within your team that not only helps you understand the framework, Scrum, Kanban. Kanban's not a framework, a strategy for managing flow. Anyway, different conversation. But imagine somebody that understands that, helps you understand what the framework is, how to live it, what the accountabilities are, all those great stuff. But yet also has this additional skill of coaching and professional coaching, not mentoring under the skies of coaching, not teaching under the disguise of coaching, but coaching. Somebody that helps you and the team feel empowered, inspired, and to help you reach your full potential. Individuals aligned behind their goals to actually know what their goals are, as opposed to just turning up to work and feeling this churn, feeling pretty difficult, feeling that it's an endless treadmill. Someone that's helping them understand what's going on. Imagine if you had people in teams doing that and the team start improving because of the conversations that they're having in the team and outside the team of how their behaviors are, what's working, what isn't working. Bringing insights into why things work and why things don't work and how life can be difficult, being able to sit with that and go, yeah, it's a bit rubbish. Move on, as opposed to festering in, oh, I just don't understand this. Why can they not see this? It must be me, it must be them, those kinds of things. Having teams working through different perspectives, considering different ideas, all the time whilst working in complex product domains where we all work, where there's more unknowns than knowns, where it feels really hard. Imagine having somebody in your corner supporting you doing that time and time, sprint after sprint, again and again. That's a powerful coach. That's a powerful agile coach. That's a powerful Scrum Master. Not somebody making sure that Jira is updated, not making sure somebody's like putting the right time in or the time code or doing that. That's not Scrum Mastery. This coaching, helping people reach their full potential is where Scrum Mastery should be. Don't see it very often. So, my journey to coaching, shared a little bit more previously, but so in order, what I had to do, I went on 5 courses with Coactive. Some of them made me feel really uncomfortable. I had issues with the frou-frou stuff when people are saying to me, how does that make you feel, Steve? Oh, I don't know, actually. I've never really thought about that. But I had 100 hours of training, 100 hours of coaching afterwards, in which I had to maintain 5 clients over 6 months, coaching them at least once a month, talking about absolutely anything. And this kind of aligns to where, the question is, should a Scrum Master be technical? I've worked in Scrum teams where I have no idea about the product. I've known about the framework. It's been liberating. Scrum Masters, you don't need to know. You don't need to be technical. As a coach, you don't need to have been actually in that situation. If you're a coach, you can coach about anything within the frameworks of actually a coaching framework, because you have the skills to do it. You don't need to have actually walked where they have walked. So like I said, I had an issue with the frou-frou stuff, and I still do. I mean, even there, I'm just at frou-frou, my shoulders go up. There was things that just didn't work for me. But working through them and putting myself in the situations, I learned a lot more about it. Maybe a little bit more about embarrassment and the fact I'm nearly 50 and I'm doing things which I thought was like really strange. And where does that feel within you, Steve? And all this kind of stuff. A lot of self-management when you're coaching as well. Learning to deal with that. Learning to deal with people that have got similar issues to that maybe you have. And being able to push your feelings to the back to help serve the person that's in front of you. So you don't bias your decisions. You don't bias the conversation. I can share your pain, but I can't show or judge your actions based off that. So I found myself changing the language that I would use. Things of like, how does that resonate with you? I would never use that. I'm, like I said, I'm nearly 50 Yorkshireman from the north of England. How does that resonate with you? Too Californian for me, but I can say it in a different way. hey, what's going on now? It seemed more natural. Using my initiative, hey, it seems that actually we've hit on something here. What's going on? I'm getting this feeling that blurting out, yeah, I don't think you're doing it well enough, just really laying it in. But we'd agreed on this on our coaching agreement, holding people to account, making sure they did what they said they were doing. And I'm not breaking any confidentiality, but I was sending a couple of WhatsApp messages to somebody that I was working with saying, hey, have you done that thing that you said you were going to do? Yeah, I'm really don't, I feel, okay, what are you going to learn from not doing it? What are you going to learn from doing it? Just putting those questions out there. There's a great opening line to any sentence as a coach. I'll give it to you now. I'm curious. What's going on? Just be curious. And if people want to talk, they'll talk. If not, they won't. Another final thought that I learned through the coaching was, okay, you're not ready for that right now. And this links into a conversation that I had last year around helping an organization move more into an agile transformation, an agile adoption, in fact. Some of the things I was saying fell on deaf ears. There was walls went up. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. In the past, I'd previously tried to knock those walls down. I backed off, went, okay, you're not ready for that conversation right now, but you will be a little bit later on. But I understand where you are. So I'm curious what's going on here. And also, okay, you're not ready for that right now. It kind of just freed me up from feeling that responsibility of helping them in their agile adoption. So, some more tips and practices for you. Please go off and read the review, the code of ethics around coaching. Ask for permission to ask questions. If you don't have permission, you don't have the right to ask any questions because they can say no. And if they do say no, respect it when they say no. Okay. Be transparent between switching between stances. Okay, I'm in consultancy mode. I'm in teacher mode. Okay. Learn how you can say that without it seeming a little bit, not too sure, false. Coach the person, not the problem. Coach the person, not the problem. By coaching the person, you enable them to grow. And the problem shrinks, in theory. Coach the person. Don't coach the problem because then you're looking for a solution. Maybe the solution that you go to is the wrong one, but if you coach the person, they have skills that they can then take forward later on. Yeah, this was difficult. Keep to 10 words or less when asking questions. For me, I said it earlier, I don't like silences, so I would just fill. Keep it to 10 words, be precise, be concise. Often when talking about Scrum, you need to be precise and concise. 10 words or less. And don't overload questions. Overloading questions is layering question upon question upon question. And the person listening actually doesn't know which question to answer. Maybe it's the first one. Maybe it's the last one. Maybe they answer the least traumatic question for them. Don't overload questions. One question, get an answer. Then ask another question. Then ask another one when you get that answer. Here's a tip that came from the Robert Gellin book. Keep a journal. And I personally like the what, so what, now what approach. What happened? So what are the implications of that? Now what are you going to do? Just journal once a day, end of the day. Just keep a note. See how you're progressing. See how your team's progressing. Okay. So this is taken from a great book, The Coaching. The Coaching Habit, Say Less with More. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. Okay. Really good book. Really, really good book. And in here, Michael Bungay-Stainer says 7 questions. What's on your mind? Just open-ended. What's on your mind? Oh, I'm a bit worried about X. I'm worried about this. Nothing. Okay, cool. And then the or question. And what else? Just pulling at that string. As a coach, what are you really worried about? And what else? Keep going, keep going. And then when they get to, that's it. You know, it's almost a bit like the 5 whys. And what else? What else? I love this question. And what's the real challenge for you here? Because it stops. It makes people stop. What's the real challenge for you? Well, actually, I suppose it's not the fact that I don't know the technology. It's the fact that actually I don't know how to start the conversation with so-and-so about it. Oh, okay. What do you want? What's the outcome? Where are you heading? How can I help? What is it you want from me? So it's not that I'm coming with a solution. What do you need from me? I just need some headspace. I just need some air cover. I just need some, oh, okay, I can give you that. Or I can't give you that. Question 6, I love doing this. If you say yes to this, what are you saying no to? I'm saying yes to working longer hours, which means I get the reporting. What are you saying no to there? I'm saying no to my family. I'm saying no that actually, I'm saying yes that work is more important than my daughter's birthday, whatever. It just allows people to see what's important to them by saying yes to this, by no to that, okay? And the last bit, what was most useful for you? It allows people to actually think of the conversation you've had. What was most useful for you about that? What's been most useful for you about this presentation or this talk that I'm doing? And hopefully you're thinking, oh, there was those 7 tips, or there was those early tips later on, or it was the way that Steve spoke about what coaching is. I always thought it was this, but it puts you back. You're reflecting what was most useful. And also nothing is incredibly important as well. So if there was nothing important, that is perfectly valid. Maybe you just knew it already. Okay, maybe I do feel a little bit better about this. So I recommend having a look at that book, Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay-Stayner. Okay, so some really good stuff in there. Now, that's the end of the talk. I've no idea how long I've been talking for, by the way, because I just rambled on. Thank you for listening. And if you do want to contact me, there's my email address and also on LinkedIn. And also, if you want to have a chat, I've got a Calendly link. So Calendly/Steve Traps, and we can talk about coaching. We can talk about Scrum. We can talk about Kanban. Talk about whatever you want. Okay, it's an open offer to you. I do a monthly podcast with the Scrum facilitators. So if you really want to hear my voice a lot more, you can go back into the archives and listen to that as well. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking around. There's some references and books for you to have a look at there. I'd encourage you to have a look at them. It helped me understand a lot more. And I thought I understood coaching, and I didn't. And I wasn't being professional. And my reputation was being damaged. So you see how those words come back and almost not haunt me, but it's just what my values are. So thank you. Thank you for listening, folks. Hopefully you found that worthwhile.
Awesome, Steve. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got a page full of notes here. So we do have a couple questions. Do we have a few minutes just for some questions, Steve?
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to try to get to these in order. If I don't, my apologies, but I'm sure Steve wouldn't mind you reaching out to him like he mentioned before. So Mohammed asked, he says, I am 25 years old, and people seem to underestimate my capabilities as a Scrum Master simply because of my age. Even though I spend so much time becoming a better coach and more knowledgeable at Agile, like literally I read books, I attend webinars and meetups. I'm no expert, but I'm fairly experienced. Any tips?
Be consistent in your approach, be consistent in your behavior. Hopefully that will then start building trust and rapport with people. I mean, I was going to say 25 is not young. You've got all that depth of experience there. I would be, comes down to interactions, and I'm not saying that you're not doing this, just be consistent. From those behaviors, people will then build up trust. And also allow space for people to go into. If you find yourself talking a lot, because of what you're doing, because you're going to meetups and going to and reading books and doing all those good things, brilliant. But allow people to step into that space that you can create for them, because then they can see, actually, this feels slightly different. I'm not being talked at. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm just think maybe if you are feeling a little bit, how do I get people to understand how much I know? One of the first things I would do is like say, hey, look at all this knowledge I've got. Maybe it is actually the reverse. Maybe you need to step back, but be consistent and step in when you need to. And you got those behaviors. I don't know if that was helpful, but
It was good. We had some
does that help?
other people chime in as well in the chat on that. Let's see. So Mohammed, if you're there.
Yes, is my mic working well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so the people I'm willing to work with, they're usually older than me. Okay, and I live in a society where they believe when they're older, they should have the responsibility or they should have the authority over me, simply because they're older. It's just a cultural thing. So
Okay.
I'm not sure how to get it to them that I'm literally just trying to help them. I'm not trying to be their superior. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm literally just trying to help them based on my knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. I had a similar situation where I was an assistant manager, and obviously there was a manager, and I took a different tact in which I was saying, hey, it was I'm curious, help me understand how you're doing this. And then through the open conversation, hopefully by having an open conversation, I was able to influence and change people's directions slightly in a different way, as opposed to going, this is the way that we should be doing it. It was help me understand why we should be doing it that way. Have we considered this?
That's actually really helpful. Thank you so much, actually.
Go home.
All right. Let's see. Maybe we have time for one more. So Andre asks, teaching stance plus follow-up by coaching. For my assumption, that would always come better. I want to know, is there any occasion that it would not be the case?
So you start teaching and follow up by coaching. I'll drop the normal Scrum answer in there. It depends on context. If the people you're talking to actually understand what you've taught them previously, there may not be a need to do the teaching. There might be a need just to reiterate the high level bits, just to make sure we're all on the same page. We could do it that way, and then shift into the coaching stance. Or no, just try it. Just do an experiment. Just see if if you believe that they actually understand it from a teaching point of view, go straight to a coaching stance. Just give it an experiment, and if it fails, it fails. But you'll learn something. Does that help?
Yes, it's actually answer the question. Thank you.
No worries.
All right, and I'm trying to remember myself, Steve. Karen actually messaged me privately and asked if we got the link for the article that you promised to share, and it was related to the Scrum God.
Barry's, yes, Barry Over. Is it? I presume it's Barry's Overeem's one. Let me drop that into the chat right away. It's the white paper I wish I'd written. Here we go. Right, I'll drop that into the chat now. There you go.
Awesome. Yep, and she said that's the one. So, all right, we actually have one last question that came in that I just saw. If we're following the ICF model, should you be asking, how can I help?
Yeah, that's where it breaks away. And this is where the agile coaching versus professional coaching, it does break up. Yeah, that is a good spot, and well done on that. How can I help? As coaches, from an ICF, we don't solutionize. It depends again on context of what that person has engaged you for, whether or not they're engaging you as a coach, straight up, or that they're engaged you as somebody with an agile background to come and help in that agile adoption. And that's very much up to the coach to work out for themselves. It could be that actually you just flag that and say, hey, you know, I'm not going to say how can I help, because I believe as a coach I should do it, but it depends on how they've engaged you, why they've brought you into the organization. Does that help? Has that answered your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it's when I read that, I was like, oh, as in when I read it in the book, I was like, oh, hold on a mo. No, but it really does come down to context. So what are they wanting from you? That's
All
really
right. Well, with that, I think we're coming to a close here. We could probably all spend another hour just asking questions, Steve. But Steve, okay for people to reach out to you? You left your contact information before, so.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So LinkedIn, and if you want to arrange some time with us as well, quite happy to do that as well. So like I say, my passion is to help people.
We always love to leave the door open to have you back, Steve.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Love to come back.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. All right, Steve, again, I took a page full of notes. This was very helpful for me. I hope it was for you too. Thanks for coming today, and I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.